Hamlet, so what is this play really all about? Before we begin, let's learn a little more about the play, including key characters and a brief summary. Hamlet is the main character of the Shakespeare play. Hamlet is the son of Queen Gertrude in the late King Hamlet. Throughout the play, Hamlet is continuously suffering with feelings of grief over his deceased father and anger over his inability to avenge his death. Queen Gertrude is the mother of Hamlet, the widow of King Hamlet and the current wife of King Claudius. Claudius is the brother of King Hamlet and the current husband of King Hamlet's wife, Gertrude. Although brothers, Claudius murdered King Hamlet by pouring poison in his ear while he was sleeping in the garden. Polonius is the counselor to the king and proves to be a nosy and self-indulgent man. Polonius is the father to both Ophelia and Laertes. Ophelia is Polonius' daughter. Throughout the play, it becomes obvious that Hamlet has strong feelings for Ophelia, but being an obedient girl, she obeys the wishes of her father and brother and turns down Hamlet's advances. Horatio proves to be Hamlet's closest friend during the play with his unwavering loyalty to the prince. Guildenstern and Rosencrantz, on the other hand, are old friends of Hamlet's, yet they are not nearly as good friends to Hamlet as Horatio is. They both end up working for the king and betraying Hamlet, then are sentenced to death by a guiltless Hamlet. Finally, Laertes is the son of Polonius and is widely recognized as being a good man. Yet in a fit of rage following the death of his father and sister, Laertes ends up working with Claudius to plot the death of Hamlet. Shakespeare begins this beloved tragedy in the middle of the night. Horatio, Marcellus, and Bernardo are on guard duty when the ghost of the late King Hamlet appears before them. The men decide that it is only right to let Hamlet know of this occurrence. When Hamlet hears news of his father's spirit wandering the castle grounds at night, Hamlet immediately agrees to accompany the men on guard duty. As Hamlet speaks with the ghost, he learns that his stepfather and uncle, Claudius, actually murdered his father. The ghost begs of Hamlet to avenge his death, therefore taking revenge upon Claudius. Hamlet becomes overwhelmed by a mixture of anger and despair. Hamlet eventually fabricates a plan to catch the guilt of the king through the performance of a play, The Mousetrap. The mousetrap is set, and Claudius is caught and is guilty in the mind of Hamlet. After the play, Hamlet is called to his mother's room, where his mother begins to scold him for treating Claudius with such disrespect. It is here that Hamlet accidentally kills Polonius. The death of Polonius leads to the eventual suicide of Ophelia. Laertes swears to take revenge upon Hamlet for his role in the death of Laertes' sister and father. With help from the king, Laertes is able to poison Hamlet with a sword lathered in poison during a simple duel. Yet in the process, not only does Hamlet die, but so does Gertrude, who drinks lethal wine that was intended for Hamlet, Laertes, who gets injured with the same poisonous sword, and Claudius, who is revealed as a murderer and made to drink the poisoned wine by Hamlet. Horatio, Hamlet's dear friend, is left with the task of telling Hamlet's story. So what can you get from this play? When reading Hamlet, there were a few key ideas that could be noticed by the audience. The first of these being the onset of madness as shown through Hamlet and Ophelia. At the beginning of the play, Hamlet warns Horatio that he is only acting mad, most likely in order to distract the king from his true intentions of revenge. Hamlet claimed in Act 2, Scene 2, that, "I am but mad north, and west. When the wind is southerly, I know a hawk from a handsaw." Basically, Hamlet is giving clues to the fact that he is not always mad as it may seem. Yet in my opinion, I believe that Hamlet does truly go a little crazy due to all the pressure and conflict he is experiencing. After all, the first time that Hamlet saw his father's ghost, Horatio could see it too. Yet the second time, Hamlet was with his mother and she couldn't see it. Is Hamlet simply delusional now? Ophelia experiences madness due to the actions of Hamlet. Although forbidden to care for Hamlet, Ophelia still experiences tremendous pain and loss when Hamlet tells her that he never really loved her. Following the death of her father, Ophelia goes completely bonkers and mentally breaks down. Another idea that we can get from Hamlet is the fact that only in death are we ever really equals. This realization is made in Act 5, Scene 1, as Hamlet and Horatio are in the church graveyard and Hamlet is grasping the skull of the old court jester in his hands. As thus, Alexander died, Alexander was buried, Alexander returneth into dust, the dust is earth, of earth we make loam. Referring to the name Alexander was made as an allusion towards Alexander the Great, who was king of Macedonia back in the middle of 300 BC. Alexander the Great is known worldwide for being a military genius, as displayed in his conquering of the Persian Empire. By making reference to the great king, Hamlet is showing that whether you're a court jester, a lowly peasant, or royalty, everyone is equal at death. We all turn into dust and become part of the land, where our status while living is no longer significant. Now let's take a look at some of the enduring themes and messages in Hamlet. One of the most prominent themes in Hamlet is suicide, which is brought into context numerous times by Hamlet, Ophelia, and Horatio. First of all, let's examine Hamlet's experience of suicide. 2 times during the play, Hamlet considers suicide as a way to escape all of his pain and suffering. The first time was in Act 1, Scene 2, with the quote, "Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew, or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon against self-slaughter." Here, Hamlet is wishing that suicide was not considered a sin, or else he would seriously consider it, as he honestly wants to be relieved of all his pain. Hamlet also deliberates on committing suicide in his famous "To be or not to be" soliloquy in Act 3, Scene 1. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. With the nearing death of Hamlet at the end of the play, Hamlet's faithful friend, Horatio, becomes determined to die alongside Hamlet. "Never believe it. I am more an antique Roman than a Dane. Here's some liquor left." In this quote, Horatio decides that there is no longer any purpose in his life, and reaches to drink the rest of the poison. But Hamlet spares his dear friend's life, begging Horatio to live on and tell his story as he pries the poison away from Horatio's fingers. Finally, there is Ophelia, who not only exhibits the theme of suicide, but also the theme of feminism, whereas Ophelia is the symbol of feminism in this play. Ophelia is constantly being treated badly and bossed around by the men in her life. Lares and Polonius both forbid Ophelia of loving Hamlet, telling her that she was stupid to believe in Hamlet's kind words, and that she was foolishly going to become pregnant. Hamlet always toyed with Ophelia's affections too, not taking into any consideration the emotional toll it may have on her. So when Hamlet tells Ophelia that he never loved her and Polonius dies, Ophelia believes that she no longer has any reason to live without these men. Ophelia goes mad and then commits suicide simply by letting herself drown. Despite the dark meanings in this play, it has been enjoyed by audiences and readers for many centuries and will continue to be for many more.